We'd like to hear more about how the JWSC has been doing in the past year, and we're also going to talk about our budget for next year as well. So, brief agenda for tonight. We're going to talk about what we do in the big picture. We talk about so much of what we do on a day-to-day basis in terms of very small units, but I've kind of combined all that for the past 12 months, so that would be June 1st of 21 through May 31st into some cumulative stats for what we've got done. We'll go through some of our recently completed construction projects and our ongoing construction projects. We'll talk about next year's budgets and the rates that are proposed to meet that budget. Some customer service updates, and then we'll talk about some projects we've got for next year's budget coming up. So in the big picture, last year we cleaned sewer lines with vac trucks, and you'll see them out and about. They're big trucks with tanks on them. Last year we cleaned 76.6 miles of gravity sewer. Now, we actually measure that in number of feet. That's not really a relative term when you start getting to 76.6 miles worth of pipe. So 76.6 miles, just as a point of reference, is roughly the length of Hadrian's Wall in Britain, is the amount of pipe that got cleaned last year. That's actually up about 15 miles from where we were at this point last year. We also put cameras in lines and televise the interior of those pipes to inspect them. So how do we know what pipes need to be replaced and rehabbed? We actually put a camera in them and get to take a look at them. We televised 42.4 miles of pipe last year. You're going to clean pipe about twice as frequently as you inspect the pipe, so that falls in line with about where we would expect. But 42.2 miles is about 80% the length of the Panama Canal. And we talk about things like that. The Panama Canal is this huge structure. Well, we got 80% of that televised last year. When we're cleaning sewers, we pull out debris that's settled out in larger lines or in lines that are a little flatter than they should be. Things will settle out, particularly sand that gets in the lines will settle out. We pulled out 405 tons of debris from the gravity sewers that did not make it to the wastewater plant. I'm an Alabama fan, so 405 tons is approximately the weight of 60 adult elephants. 3.73 billion gallons of wastewater pumped and treated. That's just what was read through the flow meters at the wastewater plant. So we talk about million gallons of treatment per day, but cumulatively for the year at all three of our wastewater plants, we did 3.73 billion gallons of wastewater treatment last year. And that's enough to fill the old Houston Astrodome 12 times. And then at those wastewater facilities, the material that got brought in, we pulled out 3,680 tons of solids from that wastewater. That is either through the biological treatment process or through settling out in the grit chambers or through the screening process. And that equates to, if you've ever moved a piano, that equates to moving 7,500 grand pianos. So we also pumped 3.04 billion gallons of clean water from our water production site. Now, if you notice here, 3.73 billion is larger than 3.04 billion gallons, so we treated more sewer than we pumped water, and there's two reasons for that. One, on the mainland, we have some very large sewer-only customers. Some of the industrial clients have their own wells, but they send us their wastewater. And also, we get rainwater in the system and groundwater in the system that we'll see some pictures of here in a minute. So you're always going to have more sewer than you have water. But 3.04 billion gallons is enough to fill Spaceship Earth at Epcot up 200 times. So if you've ever been to Disney World and seen Epcot, the Spaceship Earth, the globe that you see down there, we could fill that up 200 times with the amount of water that we treated last year. We had 717 new service locations established. If you've driven around Glynn County, you have noticed people building, and we had 717 new locations established. And of those 717 new locations, 596 of them actually got meters installed. So there's still 120 that the houses are yet to be built on, but they're active service locations in our system. And then from June 1st of last year through May 31st, we spent $24.2 million in capital expenditures on projects. That is a tremendous amount of money for a utility our size, but it shows that we are working through the system. We have a process that we go through in asset management to determine where we're going to spend our money, so we're having major impacts on our system in that regard. And then our lobby, in the customer service lobby, not everybody comes to pay their bill in the lobby. A lot of people like to pay online or through checks, but we handled 49,000 transactions in the customer service lobby last year, so that's about 4,000 a month of our customers. So we have over 31,000 customers. So about 1 out of every 8 people comes into our lobby and pays their bill in person. So we have 6 customer service representatives there that'll help you at any time. So come down and see us if you ever have any concerns or want to pay your bill in person instead of over the online or in the mail. So let's talk about some of the projects that we completed in the last year. We completed more than these 4 projects, but I'm just going to highlight 4 of them. The first one is the Pump Station 4003 Rehab. That is on K Street in the city of Brunswick. It was a Splost project. Lift Station Scada upgrades is a very technical project, but it's going to pay big dividends for us down the road. CPALM CIPP is cured in place piping. So what that does is rehab pipes from the inside on the sewer. So we did that in CPALM's West. We did CPALM's East last year. And then Magnolia Park water improvements is a joint project we did with the city. The city's stormwater improvements and paving improvements are still ongoing, but we have completed the water portion of that project. So here's some photos from 4003. That's on the corner of Newcastle and K Street. And right there on the left, you see some photos. Those are the new pumps and piping and valves that we installed inside that station. It's just a block building on the outside, but there's a lot of stuff that goes on inside these stations. Those pumps will pump 1,800 gallons a minute a piece. Now, you don't just double it when you need to have 2 pumps come on, but 1,800 gallons a minute, think about that on the scale. And we have 160 pump stations, so that all comes together. And on the right, you see some of the exterior improvements. We put a new roof, new roll-up door. In the very back there, you see kind of a tower the size of the building. That is an odor control tower that got installed on that station. If you had been through that area prior to the project going on, occasionally you would get bad odors. We've now got an odor control tower there and on 2 other pump stations as well on the mainland that remove 99.9% of all odors from the station. And there's a concrete slab on the far left of that picture on the right, which I understand is a confusing way of saying that. That is a new wet well that went in, so that's where the water collects. So that is a very deep structure, so that project took a little longer than we anticipated, but we were happy with the results there. Our contractor and engineering partners did a very good job on that project. Now let's talk about Scada. At that pump station we just talked about, we redid the Scada on all of our lift stations throughout Glynn County. Now, we had done some of them previously, and now we finished the rest of them. We did 136 pump stations. So on the left, that's a screenshot of what we can get out of our Scada system just by pulling it up. So I can sit at my desk at the office and pull up, and these are just pump station numbers on the mainland, and I can see which pumps from which station throughout the entire county are currently pumping, which ones are not pumping. You don't see any red on this picture, but if you saw a red box around one of the stations or one of the pumps, there would be an alarm going off, so we know what's going on in the system, and I can pull it up on my cell phone at any point and see what's going on. And on the right, that's inside one of the Scada panels. There's a lot of wires and a lot of little relays and contactors in there that do a lot of very intelligent stuff that I don't fully understand always, but it makes sure that we get the information we need. So that project was completed, substantially completed in January and finished up around March. So that project is paying dividends for us. And now we don't get nuisance alarms for our pump station guys getting called out for alarms that don't need to be going on. So it's helping reduce some of the load on the staff as well. Now we talked about cured in place piping. These are pictures from CPALM's West. That picture on the left, that water you see boiling up there is actually groundwater that was coming into the pipe at that rate consistently all 365 days of the year, because that pipe is about 18 feet deep, so the water table never got to the point where it was below that. So that level of water was coming in that one section continuously. And we redid 23 pipes in that neighborhood. They don't all look like that, but all of them had some form of I&I getting in the system. And on the right, that's what it looks like after the rehab's been done. That white circle is the liner that's been put in there. Essentially, they create a new pipe and use the old pipe just for the shape. The new pipe on the inside is entirely structural for itself, but this allows us to go in and rehab sewer mains without having to dig up the street. It's more cost effective, it's a lot quicker than digging up the street, and it's a lot less of a nuisance to the customers that have to drive around all the equipment that's out there when we have roads shut down. So we've been doing this a lot in the past few years. We've lined well over 5 miles worth of pipe, and you'll see some of that stuff going forward because it's a very cost-effective way for us to rehab pipe. And here's some photos from Magnolia. Installing water mains isn't always the most exciting thing to see, but they dig a trench right there on the left and put water mains in it, connect it all together, and then we test it all. But on the right, you'll see that's the contractor's drawings that he's got out there. We get the engineered plans, but when we get in the field, things shift a little bit by what we find. So you see he's got some highlights on there that making sure he's hit everything he's supposed to install. But you can also see some red pin marks on there. Those red pin marks are changes that happened in the field, and it's very important that we track that information so that when the project is finished, we enter all of that into our GIS system, and we know how things have changed from what is drawn on the drawings. So that allows us to know where things are in the future. You've surely heard in the past of us finding lines we did not know were there. Doing this process makes sure that does not happen in the future. And now some ongoing projects we'll talk about. Academy Creek is the wastewater plant on the mainland that's going through a major rehab project that should be finishing up shortly. The final stages of the Splost North Mainland Phase 3 is finishing up very shortly. We've got an ongoing meter replacement project, and then we've recently kicked off water and sewer extensions into the historic Arco neighborhood just outside the city limits. So here's some photos. Last year we showed you some photos of a lot of forms being built and rebar being tied together, and they hadn't poured concrete yet. So here's what the concrete looks like if you saw the presentation last year that we talked about. Those are new tertiary filters that are online at the Academy Creek plant. So the right picture is what is actually going on inside that tank. The water comes in from the back of the picture and goes over those weirs that you see. And then there's another level of treatment that goes on as it passes through cloth media that are in there on the filters there. So that removes significantly more solids. We're seeing a pretty substantial reduction. We were always within permit on our solids leaving the facility, but where we used to have, say, 8 parts per million solids going out, with the filters we're down at 2 or 3 parts per million leaving the facility. So you're getting a much better removal there. And those have been online for probably 4 to 6 months now, and they're doing very well for us. And then some more new concrete that got poured on the left there. That's a new splitter box. When the flow comes into the plant, we split it to different parts of the plant. So there's a new structure that does that. The old structure got tore down and kind of looked like a war zone there for a while, but now that that's out of the way, it looks much cleaner down at the facility. You also see on the top there's some white piping that runs out the back and then to a big tank at the very back, which is the picture you see on the right. That is actually a very large odor control system that is being installed. It is not operational yet because we've got to get some final touches done to the influent wet well to actually cover up that structure so we could draft the air out. But that structure is like we talked about at the pump station, where it's going to remove 99.9% of odors at the facility. So when you drive by, you theoretically, once this gets turned on, you theoretically will not have odors when you're driving down Newcastle by the wastewater plant there, which will be a tremendous improvement for us and for our customer base. So that also has that shorter structure there is also a carbon polisher that if anything does break through that biological treatment system we're doing for odors there's activated carbon that absorbs the remainder of that. So we put a fail-safe on that because we know that that's a key issue that our citizens wanted us to take a look at. And here's some photos of the North Mainland Splost project. You may have seen recently that we shut down Canal Road for 3 weeks. And why did we shut down Canal Road for 3 weeks? Because we were fusing pipe. That on the left there is how you fuse HDPE pipe together. So there's no joints in an HDPE pipe. HDPE is high density polyethylene. So instead of it being stuck together, they literally melt the pipes together and create a fusion weld in there, kind of like welding steel together, but it's plastic. And so you see on the right, a whole lot of pipe strung out on Canal Road. That's why we had to shut Canal Road down, because there's no way to put that much pipe in one solid piece without having to shut the road down. So that pipe is now in the ground. It has been tested, and they are working on completing the sections at the very end of the project on Ogden Road. And then they've got to make a handful of connections, but we're expecting to get substantial completion, which means the water will be flowing through the pipe by the end of the month. So there'll be some touch-up stuff, some regrading and grassing that has to be done there. But we're expecting water flowing through that pipe by the end of June. And that is the last thing we have remaining on the Splost 2016 projects. Now, if you've had the pleasure of having your meter changed out, you know that that's what a new meter looks like on the left there. It's usually in a box. You don't pay any attention to it, but that's what goes on inside that box. That's got a smart head on it that actually transmits data to us. You see that cable coming out. That transmits to an antenna, and we can read your meter from our office. And we can also get a whole lot of data down to the hour mark on how you're using water. So we've had a lot of people that'll get a water bill that they think is too high, and their usage seems too high for what they're actually saying they're doing, and then we'll figure out that they've got a small leak and they're using 6 or 7 gallons of water an hour every hour. And you can pull that data up and you know that there's a small leak going on. And 6 gallons of water an hour sounds like a lot of water, but if it's going into your grass outside, you'll never notice that amount of water on a small leak. On the right, that's a photo from, I believe that I took that on Tuesday, from the GIS map. As we get the new meters replaced, it gets pinned in the system, so that has not been updated the last day or two. But that's where we have actually replaced meters at. So you see we've done a lot of work in the North Mainland, the South Mainland, and sort of in the center of Brunswick. A little bit of work on the north end of St. Simons and a very small amount of work on the south end of St. Simons. But that whole map's going to be colored blue before we get done. We've replaced about 12,500 meters. If you remember, I said we had 31,000 accounts, so we're about 40% done with the project at this point, and that's supposed to be completed sometime next year, depending on availability of meters and other connection equipment. And here's some photos from ARCO. We have started installing water mains in ARCO. Most of the customers in ARCO have water, but there's some sections that did not, so the water mains are going in there on the left. And if you drive near Whitlock or in the ARCO area, you have undoubtedly seen a lot of green pipe laying on the side of the road. That is sewer mains that we will be installing to provide sewer access to up to 400 property owners in that area. So they've never had access to sewer. Those are historic neighborhoods that were platted well before the standards we have today. Most of those lots do not meet the half-acre standards for septic now, so they're not buildable right now. But by putting sewer there, those people can build houses on there. They can connect, or if you've got a failing septic tank, you can get on our system at that point instead of having to replace your septic tank and maybe regain a portion of your backyard. Waiting on some manhole structures to show up to actually begin the sewer installation, but that should be completed in about 9 months once everything shows up. And now let's talk about the reason we hold these town halls, which is to talk about the budget. So this year's budget is $34.4 million. We are proposing a water-only rate adjustment. If you'll notice on your bill, you get a charge for water and a charge for sewer because we have some customers that only have water and some customers that only have sewer. So we're proposing a water-only rate adjustment for high-volume users. And then our capital budget, which is where we do projects, is increasing to $7.7 million. It was $7.4 million last year. So with their way that construction costs have went up, that will not offset the increase in construction costs, but it will certainly help in that regard. Our 2023 budget is actually 3.3% higher than last year's budget, but we're only requesting an adjustment of the rates of 2.1%. And that's because we've seen growth in our community, and because of that, we don't have to adjust the rates the full amount the budget has adjusted. But the last 3 years, we've had these town hall meetings, and we haven't adjusted rates. So you're getting a 2.1% adjustment this year if you're a high volume user, but the last 3 years there's been no rate adjustment. So that's a testament to the staff's ability to keep costs down, that we have not had to adjust rates for 3 years, and the fact that it's 2.1% this year given the current cost environment that everyone is facing is a testament to how staff is making things work. So what's actually changing? Those yellow highlighted boxes there are the only numbers that are changing on our usage rates. So if you use above 6,000 gallons a month of water, currently if you use between 6,000 and 20,000 gallons, you get charged $3.61 per 1,000 gallons used. That will be going to $4.17, and if you use above 20,000 gallons, it's going from $4.32 to $4.99. So how much is 6,000 gallons of water? 6,000 gallons of water, this is the breakdown of residential bills by usage volumes. So our total, I'll do the math for you here, about 70%, just shy of 70% of our residential customers will not be seeing a rate increase based off of historical billing data. So 70% of our customers use less than 6,000 gallons of water a month as a residential customer. So if you use more than 6,000 gallons of water a month, you will see a slight increase. It will not be large. We have tables printed out here for you to take a look. If you use more than 6,000 gallons of how much your bill might increase, it would be very minor. If you use 10,000 gallons of water a month, your bill would go up $2.24, for example. If you use more than 10,000 gallons of water a month, in all likelihood, you either have significant outdoor water usage, meaning you either irrigate or you have a pool that you're constantly filling, or you may have a leak that you want to get checked out, because we would consider a high water usage anything above 9,000 gallons in a month. So keep that in mind. Our expense increases that we are having to take into account with this budget: treatment chemicals. We use chlorine and phosphates in water treatment, and we use oxygen and alum in sewer treatment and chlorine in sewer treatment. And chemicals across the board have skyrocketed. We've actually been fortunate that ours have only went up about 40%, because some utilities are seeing 150% increases in chemical cost right now. Materials. Obviously, we keep talking about construction costs going up. If you built a house lately, you've talked to anybody about building a house lately, you know that construction materials are going up. Well, that's also happening for water utilities. The cost of pipe and valves and other fittings is up substantially from where it was just a year ago, much less 2 to 3 years ago. Fuel costs have gone up. I'm pretty sure we have all felt that one stopping by the gas station recently. So fuel costs are going up, and we have over 100 vehicles that we drive around each day doing our jobs, and that fuel cost does increase for us. And then property insurance. We haven't filed any property insurance claims, but apparently the property insurance market has went up quite a bit, so we got a pretty good sticker shock when we renewed our property insurance a few months ago. So let's talk about some customer service offerings. Automatic bill pay or auto draft. It's very random to me, but I have had 4 people ask me about auto draft in the past week. And to my knowledge, these 4 people do not know each other, so they didn't get together and decide to ask the same question. We have had auto draft capabilities for 2 full years, and if you want to know more about getting your bill paid by auto draft, please come down to our office or call us and we'll help you with that. You can certainly get in on paperless billing if you'd like to get a bill emailed to you instead of having to wait for the mail each month, and sometimes with some of the delays in mailing, the paperless billing is an option. And we also have online applications if you're trying to move service or you're moving from out of town to here. You don't have to come down to the office. You can do that all online. Customer service update. We are refunding deposits each month now. If you are a residential customer that has paid on time for 36 consecutive months, after 36 months, you'll get your deposit refunded. Many people may have already seen that on their bill, so be on the lookout for that. You don't have to be present to have your water turned back on right now. You have to sign a waiver that you know that you could have left a faucet on at that point, but we will turn your water back on. And then we have a text messaging service. If you're afraid that you're going to forget your water bill and get your service disconnected, we can send you a text message reminder that your bill is due and that your bill is really due or you're going to get your water cut off. So we can remind you of all that. There's some maps. These are blown up in the room. If you come down here, you can see these maps a little bit better. But those blue stars are everywhere we have a current or planned water project in the next 12 months. And the green stars on the right are everywhere we have current or planned sewer projects in the month. Some of those do overlap. We have some combined water and sewer projects. But as you can see, we are working everywhere in Glynn County right now. We've got multiple projects on St. Simons, multiple projects in the city of Brunswick, in the North Mainland, and even a couple of sewer projects going on at the South Mainland, which is a very new system for us, relatively. But we do have some improvement projects going on down there in the next 12 months. And with that, there's my contact info. If you ever have any questions about what we're doing or need any help, you can give me a call or shoot me an email, and I'll be happy to get back in touch with you. And then other than that, I'll open it up for any questions. We are going to do this every 20 to 30 minutes, so if you missed the first opportunity and you want to come down in person, we can do that again. But with that, I'll open it up for any questions.
Did I come in on the tail end?
You came in right on the tail end, but if you'll hang out about 10 minutes, we'll do it one more time for you.
At 6:30?
At 6:30, yes, sir.
Okay.
So we'll do the whole thing again for you so you don't miss any.
No questions online?
No questions online? All right, so we'll hang out for a couple minutes and then start over. And actually, JWSC Town Hall meetings. We're on St. Simon's Island tonight at the casino, so if you're hearing this and want to come see us in person, plenty of seats available. Please come join us. We've also got some larger printouts from some stuff we're going to talk about in the presentation if you'd like to see that in person. So our agenda for the day, we're going to talk about our stuff in the big picture. We talk about so much of our day-to-day actions on very small scale, but when you compile it all together, we really do a lot of really impressive work in our field. It's not necessarily always the most exciting work for everybody, but it is always crucial for our community. We'll talk about some construction projects that we've recently completed, some that are very nearing completion and are ongoing, and then we will talk about the budget, which is the reason we have the town halls, is to talk about next year's budget and rates. We'll talk about our customer service update, and then some upcoming projects that we have for the next year. All right, so in the big picture, last year, we cleaned pipe. We take jet trucks and vacuum trucks and actually clean sewer pipe out in the system. You see our guys running around all across Glynn County doing this. We cleaned 76.6 miles of sewer pipe last year. Now, that doesn't mean a whole lot to everybody, but 76.6 miles, just as a relative thing, that is roughly the length of Hadrian's Wall in the United Kingdom. It's actually farther than it is from Brunswick to Savannah. So you could get past Savannah with the amount of pipe that we have installed, we have cleaned the last year. We also inspect gravity sewer pipe on the inside. We put a camera in the lines and inspect pipe. Last year we inspected 42.4 miles of gravity sewer pipe. And that's about the right ratio you want to look at because you clean pipe twice as frequently as you inspect it. So you expect that gravity sewer televising to be a little lower, a little around half or so on your cleaning. So 42.4 miles is roughly 80% the length of the Panama Canal. So we think the Panama Canal, that spans multiple countries, but we handled 42.4 miles of cleaning last year. We removed 405 tons of debris from gravity sewers while we were cleaning. That's usually fine sands that fall out before they get to the wastewater plant. So they stick on the bottom of the pipe, and when we jet it, we pull all that material out. Well, 405 tons of debris is approximately the weight of 60 adult elephants. They got pulled out of gravity lines last year throughout Glynn County. At the wastewater, we have 3 wastewater plants. At the 3 wastewater plants, cumulatively, we treated 3.73 billion gallons of water last year. Now, we measure that on a daily basis in million gallons per day, but we treated 3.73 billion gallons of water, which is enough to fill the Houston Astrodome 12 times. At the wastewater plants, the solids that actually got to the wastewater plants, we removed 3,680 tons of solids. That's either through screening and grit removal or the actual biological treatment processes we go through. If you've ever had the pleasure of helping somebody move a piano, which you know how frustrating that can be, 3,680 tons is roughly the weight of 7,500 grand pianos. On the water side, we treated and pumped 3.04 billion gallons. Now, 3.73 billion gallons of wastewater, 3.04 billion gallons of water. Why more sewer than water? Well, there's 2 reasons for that. One, on the mainland, we have some large industrial customers that have their own private wells but send us their sewer to be treated before we send it out to the river. We also have what's called I&I, or inflow and infiltration, that gets in our lines when it rains, and also from groundwater. So 3.04 billion gallons of water were treated and pumped last year for our water production crews, and that's enough to fill Spaceship Earth at Epcot 200 times. We had 717 new service locations established. These are anything from a single-family residence all the way up to an apartment complex would be 1 service location because they have 1 meter. So 717 new service locations were established in the past 12 months. And of those new service locations that were created, 596 of them actually got new meters installed. So those are active new customers that we have. The other 120 or so will be getting new meters. They may not have called for their meter yet. They may have created the service locations, just not had a meter installed. In the past 12 months, we've expended $24.2 million on capital projects. And that's throughout all of Glynn County on multiple types of projects. So $24.2 million is a tremendous amount of capital project work that we've gotten done in the past 12 months. We're going to do a similar amount next year. So the money that we're entrusted with, we're reinvesting in our system. We're doing that with an approach through asset management to know that we're spending the money in the most impactful areas so that you know you're getting the best return for that dollar value on those projects. And in our customer service lobby, we have a lot of our customers that pay online and pay by check through the mail, but we have 49,126 transactions handled in our customer service lobby last year. So that's about 4,000 a month, a little over 4,000 customers a month come see us in our lobby. So roughly 20 working days a month. That's about 200 people a day that are coming in our lobby to pay their bills each day. Some people come in and swipe their credit card in person because they just want to chat with our customer service reps, and that's great. We love meeting our customers and having that face-to-face communication. So if you do want to pay your bill in person, customer service is always there to help you, and they're great folks to get to know. So some projects we've recently completed. Pump Station 4003 is our pump station rehab project that we did in the city of Brunswick. That's a Splost project that we finished up. Lift station Scada. Lift station and pump station are used mostly interchangeably. So lift station Scada upgrades is a computer upgrade and monitoring upgrade that helps us know what's going on in our sewer systems. CPALM CIPP. CIPP is cured in place piping rehab. That is where we create a new pipe inside an old pipe, and we'll show some pictures of the before and after of that. And then Magnolia Park water improvements. That's a joint project we did with the city of Brunswick. The city is doing some storm drainage improvements and some repaving, new sidewalks, new curb and gutter. But we replaced the water lines in there. The water portion of that project is done. The city is still making good progress on the storm and paving portions of that project. So here's some photos from the Pump Station 4003. This is on the corner of Newcastle and K Street. If you're coming up Newcastle, you can't miss it. It's a big pump station right there on the right. In the left there, you kind of see what the inner workings of that building looks like. Those blue things at the bottom are the actual pumps that we use, and the gray is piping. There's valves and piping that connects all the flow together as it leaves that pump. Those pumps will do 1,800 gallons per minute of sewer. And there's two pumps, at least two pumps in every station that we have. Some stations have 3, and we have one station that has 4 pumps in there. And so we have those pumps to handle the flow, and also you have a second pump for redundancy in case you lose one of the pumps and has to be repaired. We can't be without sewer, so we have multiple pumps in service at all times. And then on the right, you see what that building looks like on the outside. On the far back of that picture, you'll see a white tower there. That's about the height of that building. That's an odor control tower that we installed at that pump station, and it's been online for several months now. Previously, if you went by that station, you may notice some odors. Those biological treatment towers that we installed removed 99.9% of odors from that station, and so that has been very effective. And on the far left of that picture, you'll see a concrete slab there. That's actually the top of a new influent wet well there at the station. That's where all the water pools together before we pump it. So we put in a very deep new wet well there to get some advantages on the gravity system there, and that's been very effective. Excuse me. All right, this is some photos of our Scada system. There on the left is just a snapshot of what we can get out of that Scada system. All those little numbers you see on there are actually different pump stations throughout Glynn County. We have over 160 public pumping stations in Glynn County that pump sewer. And then you'll see some rectangles on there. Some of them are lit up in different colors. You see some black rectangles and some white rectangles. Those are the actual pumps in the system. So what you'll see there is some of those are different colors, and those because the white ones are running. These are called high performance graphics. You want to know when you're looking at this immediately what's going on. So everything that's shown on white there is actually functioning. So there's 5 stations out of this group of 40 or so that are functioning right now. And again, we got 160, but it's kind of hard to get a screenshot of all that. So we also can tell what the individual pumps are running. So I can sit at my desk and tell you what's going on at every pump station in Glynn County. That's effective because then we can look at trending data and know when we're starting to have problems before they become an issue, and also helps to dispatch people in the middle of the night when we get alarms. Instead of getting nuisance alarms, we can just pull it up and say, hey, that's not a big deal. We can wait till morning. Save that guy having to go out at 1 o'clock in the morning to check on something. And on the right, that's what the inside of a Scada panel looks like. The exterior of the panel just looks like a regular electrical panel. The inside, there's a lot of little instruments and details in there, contactors and relays and different switches in there, and all those wires go together. So there's a lot going on in those boxes, and so that helps us get a lot of information and data about our system. These are some photos of that cured in place piping I was talking about. On the left, that's what a pipe in Sea Palms West looks like prior to rehab. That water you see boiling up is actually groundwater that's coming in the bottom of that pipe. And that pipe is so deep that the water table never gets below that point, even when it's been very dry conditions. So that amount of water was coming in there at a minimum at all times, because that pre-inspection photo was taken in one of the driest parts we've had in the last year. So that's about the low amount of water that would be coming into that line. So that's taking up capacity in the system for something that's not beneficial for us. So on the right, that's what the inside of that pipe looks like today. So you see that white liner, that is a new pipe that has been created inside the old pipe. That's actually at the exact same location in the pipe. From one end to the other we measure, and we know where we're at. So no more water getting in there. The water you see getting in there was actually the water from the jetter actually going through the line cleaning the pipe. So there's no more groundwater getting into that pipe, and we have a brand new pipe inside the old pipe. It doesn't rely on the old pipe, what we call a host pipe, for anything other than giving it shape. It doesn't require on it for any of its structural integrity. It just makes sure that it stays circular, because what we do is essentially inflate a bag inside there and create the pipe, because it makes a fiberglass pipe inside there. Here's some photos from the Magnolia Park job. And you see the water lines. Blue pipe is water, green pipe is sewer. If you see black pipe, it is always either green or blue striped. So if you see black pipe laying on the ground that is ours, you'll see that. But blue pipe is water. And you see that pipe going in there. That's some photos that were taken last summer when we were going through that project. And on the right, those are the engineered drawings that the contractor keeps in his truck at all times. And you see some things highlighted there, and you see some red marks on there. And that's the contractor actually making notes as he's putting things in the ground so that we know what's actually going on. I'm an engineer. We draw things on paper, and we get out in the field, and they have to change ever so slightly because conditions are a little different. So we ask our contractors to actually document how things go in exactly so that we can put that in our GIS systems, and we know where that pipe is. And also, he highlights everything he installs to make sure he didn't miss anything on the drawings. So that record keeping that we're doing now will, in the future, prevent us from having the concerns of, hey, I didn't know that pipe was there. So some ongoing projects. Most of these will be, the first two will be closing out very soon, and the next two will be with us for a little bit longer. So Academy Creek is the Mainland Wastewater Treatment Facility that's been in rehab since December of 2020. Splost North Mainland Phase 3 is very close to finishing up. That's to reroute pipe down Harry Driggers all the way to Ogden Road down by the historic Brunswick-Glynn Canal. And then meter replacements is an ongoing project. And then ARCO area water and sewer extensions is extend water and sewer to a older neighborhood just outside the city limits that never got the opportunity to access water and sewer. So last year, if you were at these meetings, you saw some photos of the construction of Academy Creek, and you saw a bunch of steel rebar going in different places and forms being built. Well, now we've actually got concrete poured in those and structures that are actually functioning. So on the left, that is a picture of tertiary filtration equipment that has been installed at Academy Creek. And on the right, that's what actually goes on inside that tank. So the water comes in the back of the photo and comes towards the bottom end of the photo. And what that does is the water flows through cloth media. The best way I can explain it is it looks like 70s shag carpet that is wrapped around cylinders, and the water flows through, and then kind of like a coffee filter, it keeps the solids from going through the filter. And then those solids collect and get pumped out. So previously we were within permit on our solids, but we wanted to do this to improve our water quality even more. We might have 6 or 8 parts per million going out on the solids. Now we're down at 2 or 3 parts per million by putting these filters in. So you think about the cumulative impact of that, of daily getting that many more solids out of the system, is a tremendous impact for our natural resources. On the left there's a new concrete structure. That splits flows. We pump flows up to that, and there's gates up there that direct which basin at our system that the flow goes to. And then you see some white pipe coming out at the top and going towards the back of the picture, and a gray tank at the back, and that picture on the right is that gray tank. That is a new odor control tower that is being installed at the Academy Creek facility. If you've driven down Newcastle Street, you have, without a doubt, probably smelled that wastewater plant once or twice. That structure is not online yet because we're still finishing up some of the components to actually enclose all the structures and draft the air out of there. But like we talked about at the pump station, that will remove 99.9% of the odors leaving that facility once it comes online. And that should be online by the 4th of July unless something major happens. So we'll have that moving forward. And also that little structure behind it, it's not that little, that tower's 30 foot tall for reference. So that structure behind it is about the height of a normal average person. That is a carbon filter fail-safe. So if any gases do get through the biological treatment facility there at that tower, it goes into that carbon polishing filter, and activated carbon will actually absorb the sulfides that are coming out there. So 99.9% removal of the odors, and then it goes through a carbon for that 0.1% that may get through. And here we have some photos of some of the final steps of the Splost North Mainland Phase 3. You may have noticed that we closed Canal Road down for 3 weeks. And a lot of people want to know why we shut Canal Road down for 3 weeks. Well, we were installing a lot of pipe down that street, and in these scenarios, we used an HDPE pipe. We talked about earlier, you'll see black pipe. On the right, you'll see there's a green stripe down that black pipe. So that's a sewer pipe we're installing. Our HDPE is plastic pipe that does not have joints. They're actually welded together or fused together. The plastic's basically melted together and creates a fusion weld all around that material. So the left there, that's the actual fusing process. And on the right, you see all of those pipes stretched together. They're all connected. So to install that much pipe, they essentially drill a hole in the ground and then pull the pipe through the hole. Well, you can't install that much pipe in Canal Road or on the edge of Canal Road and have it stretched out that far and actually have cars being able to pass through. So that pipe is installed now and tested. We're finishing up, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, doing the final installs on Ogden down by the canal, and then we'll tie everything together, and theoretically by the end of June, all the flow will be going through the new pipe. We talked about meter replacements. We're changing out every water meter in the system, and we're getting some benefits there. Not only do we get more accurate readings, some of our registers, the heads on top of the meters were not functioning. You're not getting overbilled. You weren't getting billed. You're getting a zero read even though you're using water every month. So we're getting those replaced. But these new ones are called AMI meters, and what that means is we can read meters from our office. Instead of having to send a truck out to go to your house and drive by to read the meters, we can read the meters from our office. Also, we get data logging capabilities with these where we can tell you your usage by the hour. So if you ever have a high bill and you want to know why you had a high bill, we can pull up your usage for the hour, for the month, and we can tell you when you're using water. Now that'll tell you 2 or 3 things. One, you may find out that you're just using more water than you realize because all your water usage is between 7 in the morning and 10 at night when you're at home. Or you may find that your irrigation system is popping on at 1 in the morning while you're asleep and you didn't realize your irrigation system was running every morning at 1 o'clock. But we can also find out if you have a leak that's causing that to occur. So we found leaks as small as 3 or 4 gallons per minute through these meters that people are having, and we actually can notify you very quickly. The goal is to get to where we call you 24 hours after we notice you've had continuous usage, so that you can be notified that you have a leak, and also you can fix that before you get that surprise 30 days later when your bill comes. And on the right, those blue circles are actually new meters that have been installed, pinpointed on the map. This was taken earlier this week, so there's been a few more added in. We're doing about 70 meters a day throughout the system, so you had a few more dots now, but you can see where we've had meters replaced at. A lot of them in the North Mainland and South Mainland and in the sort of the central Brunswick district. A little bit on the north end of the island and the south end of the island, but we're approaching those districts now. So by the end of next year, you'll see that entire map look blue as we replace the meters. We've replaced about 12,500 meters. We have about 31,000 total to replace. So we're about 40% through with the project. And here's some photos of the recently kicked off ARCO area water and sewer extensions. The ARCO area is a historic neighborhood. Most of these customers had access to water, but there's a handful that do not. And then you see that blue pipe going on the left. And again, if you've driven down Whitlock or in the ARCO area, you've undoubtedly seen a lot of green pipe laying on the ground. That is for gravity sewer installations in that neighborhood. There are 400 properties that do not have access to sewer that once this pipe is installed will have access to sewer at that point. And that's key for a couple of reasons. One, we have a lot of people with failing septic tanks out there that it would be more cost effective for them to get on our system than it would be to replace their septic tank and also give them their backyard back at that point. And also there's some vacant lots there that people own that they can't build a house on right now because it does not meet the current standards for installing a septic tank. So once we get the sewer system there, then they could actually build their house on the property that they own. So that project will take about 9 months once all the materials show up. We're still waiting on some of the precast concrete manhole structures before they can start installing the sewer pipe. And so now we come to the budget, which is why we're here. The overall budget for this year is $34.4 million. We're proposing a water-only rate adjustment. We have water-only and sewer-only customers, so what you'll have is on your bill, if you're a combined customer, you get charged for water and you get charged for sewer. So the only thing that's changing is the actual water portion of your bill, not the sewer or any of the base fees. And that's for high volume users only. And then your capital budget for projects is increasing to $7.7 million compared to $7.4 million from last year. $300,000 will not offset the increased construction costs we're seeing, but it will help us to absorb some of those costs. So the total budget adjustment is 3.3%, but the rate adjustment is only 2.1%. And why is that? Because we've got more customers, and so we can spread that out over more people. You get a lower adjustment that way. The last 3 years we've had these presentations, we haven't made any rate adjustments. Even though costs have went up the last 3 years, we've been able, through the hard work of staff, to maintain rates where they were. This year, costs have just went up to the point where we weren't able to do that, but it's a very minor increase, and it's only for those high volume users. So what's actually changing? If you use more than 6,000 gallons of water a month, your rates will change a little bit. So the highlighted boxes are the numbers that are changing. So those numbers are per 1,000 gallons. So over 6,000 to 20,000 gallons, those per 1,000 gallons are going from $3.61 to $4.17 per 1,000. And if you use above 20,000 gallons, it's going from $4.32 to $4.99. But who does this actually impact? So here's our historical billing data for usage volumes each month. So this is residential bills each month. So those first 3 numbers you see there, they will not be seeing a billing increase next year because they use less than 6,000 gallons of water a month. So historically, 70% of our residential water and sewer customers use less than 6,000 gallons. So therefore, 70% of our customers will not be seeing a rate increase this year. Now, your bill will fluctuate based off your usage, but you will not be seeing a rate increase. And if you're a residential customer using more than 6,000 gallons, you may not be using very much more than 6,000, but if you use 10,000 gallons, for example, your bill's going up $2.24 for those 10,000 gallons. If you use more than 10,000 gallons as a residential customer, you likely either have extensive outdoor water usage, meaning you irrigate, or you have a pool that you're constantly having to refill, or you may need to talk to us. You may have a leak that and once we get the new meter installed, we can tell you if that's going on. So keep those in mind if you're using more than 10,000 gallons in a month. Anything more than about 9,000 gallons of water in a month would be viewed as extremely high residential water usage. So what are we seeing increases at? Treatment chemicals, we use chlorine and phosphates in our water system. We use chlorine and oxygen, liquid oxygen, and alum in our wastewater treatment systems. And all of those have went through the roof due to the market right now. We've seen 40% increases in chlorine cost, which is actually, from talking to other utilities, not so bad. Some people are seeing 150% increases in chlorine cost right now. Material cost, if you've built a house or tried to do an outdoor project, or you've talked to anybody that's built a house recently, you know that material costs have went through the roof. That's not just for lumber and windows, that's for everything right now. So the pipe and valves that we use to rehab things and to replace things, those have all went up. If you've been to a gas station recently, you've inevitably felt the crunch at the fuel pumps, and that's impacting us. We have over 100 vehicles that we roll every day to do our jobs, so fuel costs have went up drastically. And then property insurance, we renewed our property insurance a couple of months ago, and apparently the property insurance market has went very, very high, and so we felt the sticker shock of that when we renewed that a couple of months back. So what are some customer service offerings? Automatic bill pay or auto drafting out of your account. We can do that with a debit card. You can't do it with an e-check right now, but you can do it with a debit card or credit card. And I'll leave that on there. We've had that for 2 years now, but randomly in the last week I've had 4 people ask me, why don't we have auto draft capabilities? Well, we do have auto draft capabilities. If you want to be on that system, please let us know. Call us or come to our office and we can get you set up on that. We offer paperless billing now. If you don't want to wait for your bill to come in the mail, we can email that to you. Also save some paper there if you're trying to cut cost. So paperless billing is an option. We also accept applications online if you are trying to move or if you're moving from out of town into town here, and you can apply for service online instead of having to come down to our office. So our customer service update, we are now refunding deposits automatically every month. So if you've paid consecutively for 36 months, which means you haven't been late for 36 consecutive months, you will get your deposit refunded. You may have noticed that on your bill. but those are done automatically. You don't have to request that. The Lywp Program is the Low Income Housing Water Assistance Program. That's a federal program that was started to mirror a electric utility program. Well, we have been very fortunate that 550 of our customers have been able to be helped through this Lywp program for a total of $241,954. That's as of today. That is all money coming from the federal government, is not coming from any of our ratepayers at this point. Sorry. So that works out to a little over $400 per customer that they're getting. Pays off past due balances and gives them a little bit for a couple months worth of water service moving forward. And then text message notifications. If you sign up, we can give you notifications that your bill is due, or if you forget to pay your bill, that your service is going to be disconnected, so please come pay your bill. So if you want to sign up for those text messages, you can. And then here's some project maps. These are blown up in the room if you want some information about where we're going to be doing projects next year. The blue stars on the left is everywhere we have an active or planned water capital project. And on the right is everywhere we have an active or planned sewer capital project with the green stars. So you can see we are working everywhere in Glynn County right now. St. Simons, City of Brunswick, North Mainland, and even the South Mainland. So a lot of work going on, but it's all being invested in areas where we can make a difference in our systems and be able to better serve our customer base. So with that, there's my contact info. Give me a call or an email if you have any questions. I'll be happy to help you. And with that, I will open it up for any questions. Thank you, sir.
You are.
I think I swallowed a frog or something. I got some. I'm good.
See you in a year.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That was my wife saying.
You get time to go. Time to go. are we ready? Good evening, everyone. My name is Andrew Burrows. This is the Joint Water and Sewer Annual Town Hall Meeting. You can join us tonight for a little bit longer at the casino on St. Simon's Island. We'll be doing a meeting tomorrow on the Mainland at Howard Coffin Park at 6 o'clock, so if you can't make it tonight, please feel free to join us tomorrow. So our agenda for this evening, we're going to talk about what we do in the big picture. We talk about so many things in the day-to-day basis, but when you compile it all together, we end up doing some pretty impressive things, and so we have a little fun with that at the beginning of all of our presentations. We'll talk about our construction projects, what we've got done recently, what we're getting done now, and then we'll talk about the budget for next year, which is the reason we hold these town hall meetings. We talk about our budget and rates and how that impacts people's bills each month. We'll talk about some customer service updates we have for you, and then we're going to talk a little bit about some projects we have ongoing for next year. We have some much larger maps printed out next year so you can see some of the projects we're talking about next year. So, in the big picture, we talk about things on a day-to-day basis, but for the last 12 months, we have cleaned, and cleaned means jetted. You'll see some of our jet trucks driving around town. We've cleaned 76.6 miles of gravity sewer. Now, 76.6 miles is a lot of pipe. We talk about it in terms of linear feet, but if I tell you we cleaned over 300,000 linear feet of pipe, that's not really a reference anyone can understand. So we cleaned 76.6 miles of gravity sewer, and just as a reference point, that is roughly the length of Hadrian's Wall in the United Kingdom, the very old wall that was built to keep the Romans and the early Englanders away from each other. That's also further than it is from Brunswick to Savannah, according to Google Maps. So we went past Savannah in miles of pipe cleaned. We televise. We inspect from the inside. We put a camera in the line and inspect from the inside 42.4 miles of gravity pipe last year. And that ratio makes sense for televising versus cleaning because you clean twice as frequently as you televise. So about half is about where we'd expect that to be. So 42.4 miles is roughly 80% of the length of the Panama Canal. And that's pipes that we inspect so we know what condition they're in. While we were cleaning those sewer lines, we pulled out 405 tons of debris. And that debris is small particles that fall out. They don't stay suspended in the flow. The velocities slow down a little bit at times and those will settle out. So 405 tons of debris that never actually made it to our wastewater plants. Well, 405 tons of debris is the weight of 60 adult elephants. I'm an Alabama fan, so I like elephants, so 60 adult elephants got pulled out of the gravity sewers around here in the past 12 months. Cumulatively, between the 3 wastewater plants, we have one on the island, one on the mainland, and one at the South Mainland. We treated 3.73 billion gallons of wastewater last year. Not just treated, but had to pump that much water as well. So 3.73 billion gallons of water in the last year. That's enough to fill the old Houston Astrodome 12 times. While we were treating that water, we pulled out 3,680 tons of solids. So that could be solids that got pulled out by our screens, solids that got pulled out through grit removal or filters, or also solids that were removed through the biological treatment process. Well, 3,680 tons. As a point of reference, if you've ever had the pleasure of helping somebody move a piano, that's like moving 7,500 pianos. And if you have moved 7,500 pianos, somebody owes you a lot of money. So, moving on to 3.04 billion gallons of water treated and pumped in the past year. Now, if you're paying attention, that 3.04 billion gallons is less than 3.73 billion gallons of sewer treated. So why do we have more sewer than water? Well, there's 2 reasons. One, on the mainland, we have large industrial customers that have their own drinking water wells and potable use wells, and they send us their sewer, and we don't sell them water. We also have what's called inflow and infiltration, or I&I, that gets in our system. That's rainwater and groundwater that finds its way into the sewer system that ends up passing through the plant, so you're always going to have more sewer than water. 3.04 billion gallons of water is enough to fill up Spaceship Earth at Epcot Center at Disney World 200 times. So if you've seen the big circular structure at Disney World, that's 200 of those in the amount of water that we produced in the last year. There were 717 new service locations, and a service location that was created could be a new single-family residence that was created, or a new apartment complex that was coming online. So that's the number of parcels that has new services. at this point. Of those 717, 596 of them actually have meters installed. So that means there's about 120 of those that they've created the parcel, but they haven't actually installed a new meter yet. In the past 12 months, we've expended $24.2 million in capital projects. Those are projects that we are doing to reinvest in our system. We use a philosophy called asset management so that we know where the worst of the worst in our system is, so we can spend the money where it needs to be spent to replace the assets that need to be replaced. So $24.2 million in capital projects in 12 months is a tremendous achievement for a utility our size, and we're going to do about that in the next year most likely. So the dollars that we're being entrusted with are being spent effectively on rehabbing our system so that we can improve the level of service we're showing our customers. And speaking of those customers, we had 49,126 individual transactions in our customer service lobby in the past 12 months. That's about 4,000 a month, or about on a 20 workday month. That's about 200 people a day that come in and out of our lobby paying their bills. Some of those come in and pay with cash or check, or some of them come in and swipe their credit card in person instead of doing it online, because they just like talking to our customer service reps because they're all very personable and they enjoy that interaction with our customers. So some of the completed projects I want to highlight. We completed more than this. These are just four I want to highlight. Pump Station 4003 is a sewer pump station in the city of Brunswick. That was a Splost project we wrapped up. Lift station and pump station are kind of used interchangeably. Lift station is a sewer pumping station. We did Scada upgrades, which is a data monitoring system that we have that lets us get a lot of information about our system. We completed CIPP, or Cured in Place Piping Rehab project in Sea Palms West. And I'll show you some before and after photos of some pretty cool stuff we did there. And then Magnolia Park, water improvements. We replaced all the water lines in the Magnolia Park neighborhood in the city of Brunswick. That's a joint project with the city and the joint water and sewer. We've completed the water portion. The city is finalizing their portions now. So here's some photos from Pump Station 4003. Now this is located at the corner of K Street and Newcastle Street in the city of Brunswick. And there's a brick building there that you can see from the road, but on the left, you'll see that's what the inside of that pump station looks like. Those blue things at the bottom are the actual pumps that take the wastewater from the wet well where the water collects and pumps it to the treatment plant. And the gray pipes and valves that you see coming out, that is all new pumps and piping that went into that station. And these pumps will do 1,800 gallons per minute of sewer, and that's just one pump station. We have over 160 pump stations in our system, and this one will do 1,800 gallons a minute, which is actually nowhere near our largest pump station in the system. Our largest pump station will do 5,000 gallons per minute of sewer. On the right, that's what the building looks like on the outside. So we did some improvements to the roof, put a new roof, new roll-up door there. You see some of the electrical equipment that got installed on the exterior of the building. In the back, you see a white tower cylindrical structure. That's an odor control unit that's been installed there. That's a biological treatment system where we take the gases out of the wet well and actually treat that before releasing it, and then so you don't have odors at that station anymore. On the left, you see a concrete structure, and that is actually the top of the new wet well. That system was bottlenecking in there because it didn't have enough fall in the gravity system, so we put a deeper wet well in so that the gravity system functioned better, and that station is operating very effectively since its completion. Here's some photos of our Scada system. On the left, that's just a screenshot of one of the pages we have where we get data. All of those numbers are individual pumping stations throughout the county. It starts with a 4, so that means it's on the mainland. All of those stations see what's going on. If it turns white, that means the station is pumping. If it's black, it's not pumping. And the reason we do that is it's called high performance graphics. We want to immediately be able to know what's going on. We don't want to have to interpret what the different colors are. If it's black, it's not pumping. If it's white, it is pumping. So we know which stations are pumping, which pumps at the individual stations are pumping. We also get a lot of trending data here, so we know when a station's maybe not pumping as efficiently as it had been, so we need to go check those pumps to make sure nothing's wrong. And on the right, that's what the inside of the Scada panels that we installed look like. We installed 138 of these panels, and every one of these stations has a panel that looks like this. A lot of contactors and relays in there that give us information about what's going on. It also can call us for alarms if there's a problem, but also we can remotely connect into these stations and see what's going on so that we don't have to worry about going out for a call that could wait till in the morning so our guys can actually get some sleep at night. Excuse me. All right, here's some of the pictures before and after on the cured in place piping. This occurred in the Sea Palms West neighborhood. On the left, that's a before picture. You see a lot of water bubbling up there at the bottom. That's actually groundwater that's coming in through the bottom of that pipe. That pipe is 17, 18 feet deep, and so there's constantly that much water boiling up in that pipe before we did this project. You can imagine that much water getting in the pipe, and this is just one segment. We did over 20 in this neighborhood. They weren't all in this condition, but they all had water coming into them. That's taking up capacity in the system for reasons that we don't need it to take up. So on the right, we put a new pipe inside the old pipe without having to dig up the street. So essentially, we take a sock and put it in there. It's not actually like a sock, but we call it a sock. And it's got resins in there, and we inflate it with water, take boiling water and push it out, and it creates a new pipe inside the old pipe. And so it uses the old pipe, the host pipe, simply to give us its shape, but it's not required to give it its structure. The pipe is entirely structural, and we have a brand new pipe on the inside of it. So the right there, you see some water in the pipe. That's just the residual water from the jet truck actually dragging the jet head through there to clean the pipe out. So that amount of groundwater is no longer entering the system. Here's some photos from Magnolia Park. On the left, those are the water lines going in. If you see pipe on the side of the road, blue pipe is for water, green pipe is for sewer. If you see black plastic pipe, it will either have a green or blue stripe on it. So the blue pipe going in there is new water lines installed in the Magnolia Park neighborhood. That project's been completed. The city's still finishing their stormwater and paving portions of that. And on the right, those are the engineered drawings that the contractor keeps with him in his truck. And what you see there, you see some things highlighted, you see some red marks on there. That's the contractor taking notes for what he's got completed and where he's had to change things from the original drawings that were given to him. As we know, things are done underground. We don't always know where everything exactly is. So we get there and figure out this has got to shift a few feet one way or the other. These red line drawings let us know where that's going, where that has occurred at, so we can put that in our system so that in the future we know where those pipes are instead of having to figure it out when we start digging. Ongoing projects, we've got two projects that are very near completion, large projects at Academy Creek, the wastewater treatment plant on the mainland. The Splost North Mainland project is wrapping up very soon. And that's to reroute flow from Harry Driggers down to the canal. Meter replacement project is ongoing, and we recently kicked off a project in the Arco area to extend water and sewer to that historic neighborhood. So, if you were at this presentation last year, you saw some photos of a bunch of rebar that had been tied together and forms being built for concrete. Well, that's what that structure looks like today. That is new tertiary filtration equipment that helps remove additional solids from the wastewater. And on the right, that's what the inside of those basins look like. The water comes in the back of the pipe, the structure there, and then flows through. And the water will actually flow through these cylindrical tubes that have cloth media on them, and the cloth media prevents solids from going through. The best way I can explain it is it's kind of like putting shag carpet from the 70s on a cylinder and letting the solid stick to the shag carpet, kind of like a coffee filter. So that water goes out much cleaner than it came in. Like used to, we were well within permit, but we would be sending 6 to 8 parts per million solids out of that facility. With these new filters on, we're at 2 to 3 parts per million. So that amount of water and solids going out each day compounds into a very healthy impact on our environment. There's some new structure on the left there. That's a new splitter box that's been constructed. If you went by in the past year, you may have seen the demolition of the previous structure that was there. This is a much smaller and cleaner looking structure that we've put up. That splits the flow when it comes into the plant to the individual basins that treat the wastewater. And you see a white pipe coming out the top of that. You see one coming in the bottom, but there's also one coming out the top. The one coming out the top goes to that gray structure in the very back of the picture, which is enlarged here on the right. That's a new odor control tower like we put in at the pump station at the wastewater plant there on the mainland. If you've driven down Newcastle, you've inevitably smelled that wastewater plant from time to time. Once that new structure comes online, 99.9% of the odors leaving that facility will be removed through this structure. It's not online yet. It's been installed. We're doing some final touches in the actual structures themselves to enclose them so we can pull the air out and actually send it through the treatment system. But even if that 0.1% gets through, the 99.9% removal, there's that smaller structure there in that right picture is actually a carbon polishing filter. So whatever small breakthrough odors may get through will be sent through that carbon filter, and the activated carbon will actually remove that odor as well. That should be online hopefully by the 4th of July. These next photos are from the North Mainland Splost Phase 3 project. You may have noticed in May we shut down Canal Road for 3 weeks. And why did we shut down Canal Road for 3 weeks? Because we were installing an awful lot of pipe out there. You see that black plastic pipe on the right there. Notice the green stripe, so it's sewer pipe. That pipe has all been fuse welded together so that there's no joints. It's all welded together. Essentially, they just superheat the pipe and melt it together. And so that all had to be stretched out so it could be installed. And that is actually drilled into the ground. They drill a hole in the ground and then pull the pipe through the hole instead of having to go through and open cut the entire process. So that is why that was done for 3 weeks, because you can't string out that much pipe and have it all connected together and in that area right there and make sure that cars can still go by. So we appreciate the citizens being understanding of our progress through there, but that is back open now, and then they are finalizing some pipe installations on Ogden down by the canal. And then theoretically, by the end of June, all of the water from that North Mainland district will be flowing through the new pipe. Meter replacements. We've been going through ongoing meter replacements for 6 months now. The left is what a new meter install looks like. You got the brass body, and then you got a black device on top of it. That black device is a register that transmits data and records data. You see a black cable coming off of that. That runs to an antenna, and then that sends signals back to our office where we don't have to actually go out to read your meter anymore. Once these get installed, we can read your meter from our desk. But there's another thing it does. It records data and transmits that data every day so that we have hour readings. So we can know how much water you used every hour of the day. And why is that important? If you've got a high water usage and you want to know what's going on, we can tell you when you're using water. You might find that your irrigation system is popping on at 1 or 2 in the morning while you're in bed. And you can fix the programming and your water bill will go down. You might find that you've got a small leak, maybe 3 or 4 gallons an hour that's coming out that you don't know about that's impacting your water bill. 3 or 4 gallons an hour doesn't sound like a lot, but over a 30-day period, that adds up to an awful lot of water that's going through your meter that's a leak, and we can get that corrected for you and get a leak adjustment. On the right, those blue circles are where all the meters have been replaced at. This was taken a couple of days ago. We're installing about 70 meters a day, so there'll be a few more blue dots on there. But you'll see we've got a lot of meters replaced in the North Mainland and in the Central Brunswick District and in the South Mainland. Worked some on the north end and a little bit on the south end of St. Simons. But all of those meters will be replaced. So by the end of next year, that entire mat will be colored in blue from all the meters. So we've got about 31,500 accounts, a little less than that, 500 accounts, and we've replaced about 12,500 meters. So we're about 40% through with that project. Here's some photos from the Arco area water and sewer extensions. That's an older neighborhood. A lot of these customers have had access to water, public water before, but some have not. So to the left, you see some new water pipe that's been put in the ground there for those customers to get access to the public water system. And if you've driven by that area, you've inevitably seen a lot of green pipe sitting on the side of the road. That is new sewer pipe that will be installed in that area. This will bring public sewer to 400 new parcels that previously didn't have access to public sewer. And that's important for a couple of reasons. One, a lot of those customers are dealing with failing septic tanks. And once we get the sewer lines brought to them, it may be more cost effective for them to get on our sewer system than to actually go through a full replacement of the septic tank. Sorry. And also, we have some lots out there that are vacant that people can't build on because they don't meet the current construction standards of having to have a half-acre lot to put in a septic tank. So once the sewer system is available, those customers that own those properties can build their houses on there and tie onto the sewer and actually get some benefit of owning that property. We're still waiting on some concrete manhole structures to show up before we can install the sewer system. But once that gets here, you're looking at about 9 months completion time for the whole project. So let's talk about the 2023 budget, which is why we're holding these meetings. Our overall budget for next year is $34.4 million. We are proposing a water-only rate adjustment for high-volume users only. We have water rates and sewer rates because we have some customers that only have water and some that only have sewer. So the sewer bill will not be changing. The base fees will not be changing. We're only proposing a water change, and we'll go over what those are specifically. And then our capital budget, which is where we do projects from, has increased to $7.7 million from $7.4 million last year. That won't completely offset the increased costs we're seeing on projects, but it will certainly help. Sorry. So our 2023 budget, total budget increase is 3.3%, but the rate increase is only 2.1%. Now why is that? because we've increased our customer base in the county. We got a lot of people moving into town here, so we were able to keep the rate adjustment lower than the total budget adjustment. But for the last 3 fiscal years, when we've had these meetings, we've said there have not been a rate adjustment. That's a testament to our staff's hard work to keep costs down. For 3 years, your rates have not changed. And this year, going up 2.1% on those high volume users is the only thing we're going to have to do to meet the new budgets in the current cost environment. So what's actually changing? Those 2 highlighted numbers are the only 2 numbers that change in the rate resolution. 6,000 gallons or more. If you use more than 6,000 gallons of water a month, the per 1,000 gallon charge is increasing from $3.61 to $4.17. So every 1,000 gallons, your bill will increase 56 cents, up to 20,000 gallons. If you go above 20,000 gallons, it's going from $4.32 per 1,000 to $4.99 per 1,000. So those 1,000 gallons will be 67 cents per 1,000 more expensive. So what does that do for our actual customers? Here's the historical billing data that we have of residential bills that we've sent out. So if you add those first 3 numbers up, which is residential bills where the total bill was less than 6,000 gallons of usage, 70% of our residential water and sewer customers will see no increase in their monthly bill based off of their usage patterns. If you go above 6,000, you get a slight increase, but 70% of our residential customers use less than 6,000 gallons of water a month. If you use more than 6,000 gallons of water a month, you're going to see a slight increase, but it shouldn't be a big deal for you. If you use 10,000 gallons of water a month, your bill's going up $2.24. If you use more than 10,000 gallons of water a month, it'll go up slightly more than that. But if you're using more than 10,000 gallons of water a month, in all likelihood, you have some high external water usage. So you've got irrigation going on, or you're having a pool you're having to fill up, or you may have a leak that's going on that we can, once we get the new meters installed for you, we can tell you if that's going on for you. So overall, 70% of our residential water and sewer customers will see no increase in their monthly bill. So what's driving these increases? Treatment chemicals. We use chlorine and phosphates on the water treatment side. We use chlorine and alum and liquid oxygen on the sewer treatment side, and those chemical markets have went up substantially. The chlorine cost have went up over 40% in the past year. Oxygen's went up 20 to 30%, which is actually not bad compared to what I've talked with some other utilities. Some utilities are seeing chemical costs go up 150%. Materials, if you've built a house, tried to do a backyard project and went to the local big box stores, you've inevitably seen costs going through the roof on these things. Well, that's the same thing's happening for large pipe and valves that we use. Materials have went up substantially over the last year to year and a half. Fuel cost, if you've been to the gas station recently, you've inevitably felt that sting on your wallet. Well, we have over 100 vehicles that we roll every single day to do our jobs, and that fuel cost is impacting us. And then property insurance. We renewed our property insurance, and apparently property insurance providers right now are feeling the sting, so they've increased property insurance rates for commercial properties all throughout the coastal region. We haven't filed any claims. We just got higher rates because the insurance market itself has changed. Customer service offerings, 3 things I always like to talk about. Automatic bill pay or auto drafting. If you want to just have the exact amount of your bill taken out of your account each month so you never have to think about paying your water bill, we can get you set up for that. Interestingly enough, in the past week I've had 4 people, individual people ask me why we don't offer that service. Well, we do offer that service. We've had it for 2 years. If you want to be on auto draft, you can either go to our website and sign up for it there, call our office, or come to our office and we'll be happy to get you set up. If you want to stop getting a paper bill each month and just want to get it emailed to you, we can get that set up for you too through paperless billing. And then if you are moving to a new location or setting up a second address, you can do that application online instead of having to come down to our office now. Some other customer service items we've got. We're now automatically refunding deposits after 36 months of on-time payment. So that's 36 months where you never missed a payment. If you do that, you'll get your deposit automatically refunded to you. We've been doing that for several months now, so you may have seen that already occur. The Low-Income Housing Water Assistance Program is a federal program that was created to mirror the Low-Income Electrical Assistance Program. This is administered through the Coastal Georgia Community Action Authority. So far this year, we've been able to help 550 of our customers for a total of $241,954, which is over $400 per customer they've been able to help out. This will help pay past due accounts and give you a little bit towards future bills as well. And we also offer text message notifications about service disconnections. So if you are afraid you're going to miss your bill, we'll text you and tell you your bill is due. And if you've missed your payment, we'll text you and tell you your water is going to be turned off. Please come in and pay your bill so we don't have to disconnect your water. And then we have these maps blown up in person here, and we'll have them tomorrow night if you come to the Mainland meeting. Everywhere you see a blue star on the left there is a planned or ongoing capital project we have to reinvest in our water system. And on the right, everywhere you have a green star is where we have a planned or ongoing sewer capital project. And you can see we are working everywhere in Glynn County right now. There's a lot of stars on there. Some of them are the same because we're doing water and sewer improvements. But we're working on St. Simon's in the North Mainland in the city of Brunswick and the South Mainland as well. So all in all, a lot of work going on. We take the funds we get very seriously, and we're trying to make rapid improvements to our system. So with that, there's my contact information. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. And other than that, I'll open it up for questions here. Nobody's going to show up. That's right. Thank you, Gordon.